And good morning. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls. I'm your host. Really genuinely appreciate you guys being here. I have a very, very, very special guest on today. He's a good friend of mine. I've been blessed with the opportunity to mentor this young man in several ways, and man, he's somebody you guys want to get to know. I'm telling you, Alex Hill is the guest today. And Alex, man, I am so grateful to have you on here. Welcome to the show, bro.
Good morning, Ken. Thank you for having me on.
Dude, I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I want people need to know your story because bro, you have an incredible story, and we met a couple of years ago at the first 10X Growth Conference down in Miami, and I remember you were wandering about, looking a little bit lost, if I recall. I wasn't sure what was going on with you, but anyway, let's start with I know you have an extensive military background, and just wanted to start with where you are from. Let's start. Where were you born and raised?
So I was born actually in Michigan. I was raised mostly in Missouri, strangely enough. I went to school there, spent the summers down in Florida with my father, and then when I was 16, I wasn't a fan of Missouri. When I was 16, I made the move to the beach, so I kind of claimed that as home. So right down there in Navarre Beach.
Navarre Beach is where in Florida?
It's close to Pensacola.
Oh, okay.
So Northwest Florida.
Okay.
Still Central Time Zone.
I can't believe that's Central Time Zone, man. I just learned that last night. I had no idea there were parts of Florida that are in the Central Time Zone. That's crazy.
Just us, Emerald Coast, we're special.
Yeah. So you're an hour behind me. So listen. So you were born in Michigan.
Correct. Yeah. So my father was in the military. My parents split up when I was very young.
Okay.
So I was there vaguely for maybe a year and then kind of on. So
okay.
No recollection of it, but
okay. And then you said Missouri? You were raised
Missouri, yeah. So my mom actually moved to Missouri. I'm not sure why. I wasn't a fan of it, so I got out of there as soon as I could.
Yeah.
Very close to my mom, but I just wasn't a fan of Missouri. I like to say Midwest is where people go when their dreams die. I know you live in the Midwest.
Wow.
Missouri's the worst, though. Missouri, I think.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot going on there.
My buddy Emily Frisilla and Andy Frisilla live out there in St. Louis. But, yeah, hey man, I've been through Missouri, and yeah. So it's flat, I think, from what I can remember. But yeah, I mean, hey, I'm in Ohio, so Missouri is quite a ways away, but like when you look back at your childhood, and so when you were, let's start with, you ended up moving in with your dad. Is that what, like?
Yeah, so it was actually really interesting. So I actually have, 4 other brothers and sisters. So for the most part of my first part of my life, my mom was a single mom, 5 kids, 2 jobs, going to school. So I was very independent from the beginning, and I was actually the youngest as well. So, all my other brothers and sisters kind of moved out of the house. By the time I was 8, 9, I was about the only one left in the house. So I just grew up really independent. That's why I wasn't really a fan of Missouri. And then I think I was about 11 years old. I kind of asked my mom, I said, hey, can I meet my dad? I didn't have very many memories of him. They were very vague. I hadn't really seen him since I was about 3 years old at that point. And I just kind of called him up one day out of the blue and just said, hey, I heard you're my dad. Can I meet you? And then I started going down there and spending the summers with him.
How old again?
I was about 11 years old.
Okay.
Whenever I made the phone call, and then spent a few summers down there with him. When I was 16, he actually works offshore. So whenever I was 16, I just thought there would be more opportunity for me in Florida. So I went ahead and made that move. He actually worked offshore at that time too, so I kind of just lived at home with his girlfriend at the time, and
Wow.
he would be gone for months at a time, and I kind of did the school thing and graduated actually a little bit early out of school and took off in the military. So
Wow. Wow. So you left high school and immediately went into the military.
yeah, so I actually graduated high school in December 2009, and I left for basic training in February 2nd, 2010, actually. So
Wow. So okay, so in 2010 you went to basic training for the which branch? Army?
yep, the United States Army, correct.
Okay. And so let me ask you this, like looking back at your childhood, what would you say was the biggest influence for who you became or what you became as an adult? Was it like a person, an event?
I would honestly, I would say my mom. I mean, my mom. She's definitely my biggest supporter, and she influenced me a lot just by seeing how hard she worked. To take care of all of us and to provide, the best life that she could for us. Which was very hard for her. That really kind of inspired me, and luckily, although I don't think it was intentional, she was working two jobs and going to school.
Yeah.
So I spent a lot of time by myself. I was very independent. 8 years old, learning how to cook my own food, mow the lawn, do all those kind of things.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that looking back now, because I think that really gave me an advantage in life. It helped me mature very quickly, as opposed to other people my age, that weren't really doing the same things that I had to do.
Yeah.
I remember writing my first check, I think, when I was like 14 years old.
Wow.
To buy something at Lowe's to fix, the back deck at the house. So.
Wow, man. Wow. So you grew up very independent. You obviously have remained pretty independent from what I know about you. What do you feel like? What pushed you to the military? I mean, you could have done a million other things. Like, why the military? Because your dad was in there? Or?
No, absolutely not. Actually, my dad was in the Air Force. Even after living with him, I tried really hard to form a relationship with him. And we do have a good relationship, but it's not as strong. He definitely wasn't there for me growing up. He wasn't the best father figure. I don't think. Which I think is still all part of my story and kind of what led me to, how I did everything. But actually, I was kind of a troublemaker. I was a big rebellion. I was getting a lot of trouble at school, getting kicked out of school. I was doing drugs, all that stuff. And I had no goal, no aspiration, nothing in my life. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. And, to this day, I always joke when I say this, but it's true. I was actually pretty drunk when I went and took the ASVAB for the military. I scored really well on it. I could have had any job I wanted in the military.
Yeah.
And, I was initially going to do something that actually I was going to do EOD at first. And then my mom was like, do anything but infantry. And being the rebellion I said, good, I'm going infantry.
Oh,
That's exactly
wow.
what I did. And,
Yeah.
I wanted to get a good life experience, and so I had no aspiration or no intention to ever join the military. Growing up, it was kind of just a random thing that it kind of just happened one day. But I'm grateful for it, because it was a wonderful stepping stone in my life, and definitely set me on a straight path, or a better path, anyways.
So you ended up going into the Army. You chose infantry. You went through boot camp. I'm sure boot camp was nothing to it. It was probably the easiest thing you'd ever done.
It was a huge shock factor. Definitely, I'd never been challenged that much. School, I was never really challenged in school. I was kind of the class clown, but school never challenged me mentally. The schoolwork was just so easy for me. I've never studied for a test in my life. Never really had an issue with it, so I was never challenged. So I wanted something that would challenge me. So that's, infantry is the hardest job in the military. Let me go do that. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, is challenge myself and see what I really was capable of. So
Right.
basically, basic definitely was challenging, and it definitely challenged me. So
Yeah.
I got what I asked for, a little bit more than I asked for.
Well, I mean, and so here you are, sounds like you're not even 18, 17, 18, 19 years old. And
Yeah, I just turned 18.
just turned 18. And you find yourself in the middle, and you grew up a pretty independent kid. You had your bouts with a variety of things, the drugs and whatnot. But so you ended up in the Army. You get through boot camp, right? Without getting kicked out.
Barely made it.
Barely. So talk to me about what happened next after you got out of basic training. What transpired?
So, I really pushed myself in basic and kind of really opened my eyes to what I was capable of. Like I said, it was very challenging, but whenever I graduated, I said, oh, if I can do this, what else can I do? And I just wanted to continue to push myself and push myself more. So the next step for me, very few people want to do it, but I volunteered for airborne school. So right after that, spent 3 weeks still down there in Georgia and learned how to fall out of airplanes.
Wow.
And luckily that actually was a huge blessing for me, because that was why I ended up at Fort Bragg in the 82nd Airborne Division. Which is one of the, it's the elite unit of the regular Army, and it's very challenging there. So the Army has a set of standards, and the 82nd has another set of standards that's much higher than the regular Army standards that the rest of the Army practices. So that was another big challenge.
Wow.
So I just wanted to keep on challenging myself, and how far can I go, how much can I push myself? So
right. So you were in the 82nd Airborne,
right.
and that was only 3 weeks of training.
Yeah, it only takes 3 weeks to learn how to fall out of an airplane.
Fall out. So that's funny, dude. So you went. So here you are. Now you're in the airborne, which is you'd have to be living under a rock to not know that's an elite division of the U.S. military. So what next?
So I went there, and they were actually on a deployment when I first got there.
What's that mean? What's that mean?
So
they were in like the Caribbean fighting pirates.
So when I got to my unit, the company that I was assigned to, they were actually currently in Afghanistan at that time when I got there. And so the week I got there, they said, "Pack your bags, you're going to Afghanistan."
Holy crap!
And so I said, "Well, let's go." At that point, I was whenever I first got the basic training, they said within 90 days of graduating, you will be in Iraq or Afghanistan. You will be getting shot at. And I was terrified. But by the time that I graduated basic training, I felt like I was prepared and I was ready for that mission. So I was actually, I was very nervous, but I was excited to go over there. And actually last minute, all my bags were packed. I was actually at what we call Green Ramp, the airport, the airfield.
Yeah.
And they canceled it, and somebody else jumped on. They said we have to send them over there instead of you. So I ended up not going. So I actually spent almost 2 years in garrison. Is what we refer to. Garrison is any time we spend in the United States, back at our home base whenever we're not on a deployment. So I had to wait 2 years before I got that opportunity to deploy.
Wow. So you were ready to get on the plane and go, and they pulled the plug at the last minute.
At the very last minute.
Wow.
So an emotional roller coaster.
Wow. Okay, so eventually though, you were standing on the what's it called? The tarmac.
Green ramp.
Got on the plane. It took off, and you were on your way to Afghanistan.
I was.
Wow.
There's a few stops before then, so there's no really flights that go directly into Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So it was quite an interesting trip over there, actually. That was actually my first time out of the United States.
Wow.
So we flew to Germany, and we actually flew to a country called Kyrgyzstan, and I spent a few weeks there, and then we helicoptered in to Kandahar.
Wow. Now, did you have to jump out with a parachute and all that, or no?
No, we didn't do that over there.
Yeah. So
There's only been a few jumps since D-Day or World War II that have involved paratroopers
so tell
jumping
me
in.
tell me about what happened while you were in Afghanistan. Was it everything that you always dreamed it would be?
You
That's
know,
a joke.
it's really hard to know what to expect going into something like that. I
I
mean,
can
it's a theater of
imagine.
combat,
Yeah,
and there's different regions over there, and there's different things going on in each of those. There's a lot of different terrorist organizations over there
yeah,
that control different parts. You know, so I didn't know what to expect. You know, there's some very secure military installations over there
yeah.
that are well protected, and there's some that aren't. So where I ended up at, and that's why we actually had we flew in on helos. We were at my duty station over there was a very small outpost, what we call a COP, a combat outpost. So it was just me and my small company. So there's about 130 of us, in a dirt wall, little small compound, right there in southern Kandahar province, right along the Arghandab River Valley, which is one of it's the route that they take smuggling things in.
So you're smack dab and how, let's say you're like what, 20, 21 years old, something like that?
I was 20 when I got there.
20 years old, right, dropped smack dab in the middle of a hot zone. I mean, it sounds like it was a little bit intense.
Yeah, I got my first day in country I was shot at, so
What?
there was no time to unpack. I mean,
What?
immediately we were as we're healing in, there's gunshots, and very first time I walked out of the wire, gunshots. I mean, it was a daily occurrence after that, but you know, it's kind of stepping into a whole different world whenever, you know, you go there and there's people here that really want to kill me. So you really had to, you know, very quickly, establish a different kind of mindset, you know, to be able to do what you need to do over there.
Holy crap, man. So, wow. I can't even, most people can't imagine that. They can't, like, they haven't experienced that.
I mean, it's, you know, it's one of those things you really have to experience it. I mean, you know, I knew that was going to happen when I got there. Absolutely. You know, I knew that was a very good likelihood, but I mean, whenever it starts happening though, everything kind of changes.
Yeah. So, you know, tell us what happened. What transpired while you were there? I mean, I'm sure there were times that, you know, I have a lot of friends that are military or former military, and there's good and there's bad things, and you know, just tell us what happened, man.
Absolutely. So there was a lot of good and a lot of bad that happened over there. So you know, I had a really good opportunity over there. We actually built, I think about 10 different checkpoints for local police, you know, to kind of secure the village that we were in. It was called Sanjare. We actually built a school. We would actually sit on top of that school with machine guns and protect it so that those kids could go to school. They hadn't been able to go to school for years because the Taliban prey on students, on young people. That's where they recruit at. Actually, Talib means student, so Taliban is a group of students. So they recruit for students, but if those students aren't willing to join them, then of course, you know, they harass and antagonize them. So we would sit there and sit on top of the school and protect it so that they could go to school and learn, which over there, I mean, that's their favorite thing to do. They love going to school. You know, it's funny, you know, I always carry pins with me. That one word I remember over there from Pashto, what language they speak, is hala, which means pin. They love pins because that's something that's not very common over there. They love to be able to write and learn and read. If you give them books or anything like that, you know, they take a book or a pen over candy any day.
Wow.
So that was a really eye-opening experience to see that. You know, and to be able to be a part of that and be able to, you know, build those schools and those checkpoints so that, you know, we could secure their town and secure their village and, you know, also allow them to their children to be able to go to school was incredible. You know, very fulfilling for me to be able to do that.
Wow.
We trained many police over there as well, the Afghan local police, the ALP as we call them. We graduated, I believe, over 60 of them from our training that we did on our little combat outpost that we had, our COP.
Wow.
Unfortunately, a few of them, actually 4 of them, turned their weapons on us a few months after the fact of us training them.
Wow.
And that resulted in actually a fatality. One of my best friends was killed actually over there at one of the checkpoints that we built with police that we trained. So that was definitely some of the bad.
Wow.
There was actually a point in time over there we were averaging across our battalion, from the 82nd, we were averaging about an amputee a day. So we had over 50 amputees from that deployment. We had 13 KIAs, American KIAs, from that deployment, from my battalion alone. 3 of them were from my company. I was there for 2 of those.
Wow.
So there was a lot of, there's no way to prepare yourself for that. You really had to desensitize yourself over there, and that was a big problem I had coming home. Was how to, feel emotion again, because, even after my best friend was killed, even after I watched, my brothers, all these horrific events happen and unfold in front of me. There's still a mission at hand, and we still have to do our job over there. So fortunately, there's not much time to grieve when you're there. So I think, a lot of soldiers come home with problems because we had to get the job done, and then whenever we get home, that's whenever we're dealt to, deal with that grief. And, a lot of us don't know how to deal with that grief, and I myself didn't either. It took me years before I figured it out.
Holy crap, dude. Okay, so that's a very small percentage of the world's population that has to deal with stuff like that, man. That's incredible. I can't imagine. I truly can't imagine that. So you watched your best friend, or were you there when your best friend was?
I was not there whenever that happened. I was a few miles away. Strangely enough, whenever it happened, I obviously knew something had gone up. We spun up what's called a QRF, which is a quick response force. So I knew something bad had happened. And actually, one of my in my small squad that I was with, one of the other team leaders, he came to me and he said, sit down, Alex, I need to talk to you about something. And immediately I knew what it was. His name was Jared. We call him Jared Bear. And he said, and I just looked at him and I said, it was Jared, wasn't it? And he told me about it. And, he was actually the first one to him. And, so he told me kind of, everything that happened. And, I was absolutely devastated. But as bad as I wanted to cry, I couldn't. I physically could not cry at that point.
Wow.
And that was actually a very scary thing, coming back, that I couldn't show emotion. It really, made it very difficult for me to have relationships coming home with, whether it be with my family, my friends, or even significant others, not being able to show emotion like that was a huge problem coming home. But, that's kind of all when it started over there.
Wow, man. Wow. Yeah, take a drink of water. I think I need a drink too. So, dude, okay. So I happened to, I posted this on Facebook last night. Ed Milet interviewed a couple days ago Robert O'Neill, the guy the Navy SEAL that shot and killed bin Laden. And you want to talk about a powerful freaking interview? Holy crap! I've never seen one.
I believe it.
And so and he was very in the interview. He's not real emotional. He's just like there he was. I shot him in the face twice, and he's like I had a job to do. And so I can see where that would, I don't know, man. It's intense. It's intense. And to go through that and not be able to deal with the emotions and let that emotion out is, it's gotta be tough. It's gotta be tough.
I mean, it is, I actually have 5 nieces and nephews, and, because kids and over there, we would have kids that would throw hand grenades at us, and that would carry weapons over there. So they started carrying weapons over there about 6 years old. A lot of them, will start training when they're 6 years old. They've been at war for 60 years. So the kids over there are not the same as children in the United States. Um,
Hmm.
there's a huge difference, but nonetheless, it's still very difficult dealing with those situations where, these kids are doing what they've been trained to do, which they're trying to kill us, but at the same time, they don't see the whole picture, and I don't think they have the perception that, adults have. So those are some really difficult situations to deal with.
Sure.
Because I mean, whenever you're looking at these kids shooting guns at you, and you're thinking they're the same age as my nephew, it's really difficult. But
I mean, you have to shoot back, right? Like,
I mean, you have to learn really quickly, how to make decisions, and you have to think about what those actions are, what's going to happen from those decisions you make. So, and like I say, even to this day, a lot of the things that I've learned that I've been successful with in business have come from my time in the military, and like decision making. You learn to make decisions really good and really quick whenever bullets are flying.
Yeah.
And people are dying. You got to keep people alive. Whenever it's your responsibility to keep people alive, you have to learn how to make those decisions really quickly. And I think that translates really well into business.
Wow. Wow. Yes, it does. So, when did you leave the, so you went through all that. Was there anything else that happened over there that was traumatic in any way, or?
I said I was there for two of them, and I think that is, I think some people refer to it as survivor's guilt. But just one switch up, one change, was all it took.
Yeah.
One person saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do this instead of you doing it." About 50 yards in front of me, this ID went off.
Wow.
That actually killed about 4 people. And actually, one of our bomb dogs lost his hearing because of it.
Wow.
So maybe survivor's guilt, a little bit too. That was really stressful because, thinking like, hey, that could have been me. That should have been me, in many ways. Because up until then, what they were doing was my job to do on that specific mission. And they said, hey, we'll take this one. Stay here.
Wow.
And, so it's just that one split second thing that, changed everything. So.
Wow.
So that was a really tough one too.
Yeah.
It kind of experiencing that firsthand, and being right there in that blast. But so that was really tough. And then coming home, coming back to the States, it's very different once you've been exposed to a situation like that for that period of time. And we were actually only over there for 7 months, because we had so many casualties. We were deemed mission ineffective because we had to come back early, so they cut our deployment short a couple months, just because we were experiencing so many casualties over there. So coming back to the United States after that is just like, how do you talk to people? How do you communicate with people that don't understand what you've been through? How do you talk to people? I had all my family trying to call me and stuff, and I'm just like leave me alone. Like I just need to be alone right now. Like I just want to go lay on some grass that I haven't seen it for months.
Yeah.
Like I just want to be by myself at that point. So it's just really, really hard to learn how to communicate again after coming back, after being in that environment for that period of time.
And so many people just don't get that, man. So many people don't understand that. So, I know that, along the way after, I think it was after you came back, you ended up becoming friends with, some fairly powerful, people in the military and government, right?
I did. So I'll say it all started, I think, first. Less than a month after we returned, another very close friend of mine, he completed suicide at work while we were there.
While you were in Afghanistan?
No, about a month after we returned from us getting home.
Wow.
And I was very close with him. And I actually spoke with him, days prior to that about that specific, about his feelings and thoughts for that. And I had addressed it specifically with my chain of command and informed them that he needed help. And actually he came to me one night intoxicated, crying. Started telling me these thoughts, and I'd actually sent somebody home with him to watch over him and to make sure he was safe. And then, that morning, I followed up my chain of command and reported and said, hey, look, he needs help. We need to be there for him. And they kind of brushed it off and ignored my requests. And a few days later, he completed suicide. So that was a really tough one for me. Mostly how they handled it. So, they really tried to brush it under the rug. And,
wow.
They didn't want to take responsibility for it. So they actually, this one actually got pushed up pretty high. We had to clean up the blood. We had crime scene tape, at our work. There's no team that comes and cleans it up. It was us. We had to continue working there, seeing that hole every day in the concrete.
Wow.
It's really tough. So, my sister actually, just backtrack a little bit. My brother-in-law was in the Marine Corps. After his first deployment, he actually completed suicide as well, the day I graduated airborne school.
Oh my God, dude.
And, that actually brought me and my sister very close together. We weren't as close growing up, but, whenever that happened, we really bonded over that. And she actually started working for a nonprofit company called TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors.
What's it called now?
It's called TAPS.
Okay.
Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. So she actually she was working for them. She was doing the widows retreats with them. She just happened to be at a conference in Colorado, and she called me on a Sunday, and she said, "Hey, this guy just spoke. I don't even remember his name at the time. Hey, he just spoke. He actually talked about your friend Donovan, and that incident that just happened at Fort Bragg." And she talked to him.
Hold it. You're talking about your buddy that.
Right. That he shot himself at work.
Oh, okay.
So they were talking about that incident at a conference in Colorado. And my sister spoke to him afterwards. It was actually a general that was speaking, but of course, he was in civilian clothing. But she said, "Hey, my brother's actually in his unit. My brother's very good friends with him." And he said, "Can I speak with him?" Because this whole situation was still under investigation at this point. And so she called me and she said, "Hey, this guy wants to speak with you. I'm not sure who he is." He said his name was General Anderson. And I said, "Absolutely, I'll speak to anybody about this."
Wow.
Because I really wanted to get the truth out there because the truth had been covered up. And
wow,
this was on a Sunday. Monday morning, I was at work. It was early in the morning, about 9 o'clock, and I get a call up to my boss's office, and he says, "Get ready, you're going to see Dre." First he said, "Is there something you need to tell me?" Looking at it kind of confused. I'm like, "I don't think so, man. I didn't go out of town this weekend. I didn't get in trouble." And he said, Dragon 7 or Dragon 6 has requested your presence.
Who?
Dragon 6 is the call sign for the commander of the 18th Airborne Division, which includes the 82nd Airborne Division. So he's the commander of 22,000 soldiers in the 82nd.
Oh,
and an additional, I think, 18,000 in the 18th Airborne Corps. So
wow.
I was escorted down to the headquarters, and I went and spoke with them. And
now this is a general.
This is the former commanding general of Afghanistan and the
geez.
current commanding general of the 82nd Airborne Division and 18th Airborne Corps.
Wow.
So he is the top dog on Fort Bragg, and of course I'd never spoke to anybody like that, so I didn't know how to go about it. Luckily, it wasn't as formal as I expected it to be. It actually ended in a lot of tears, between both of us. We didn't shake hands at the end; we hugged at the end. And
wow.
So that was really interesting. A really, really good experience to be able to get the truth out there, and I think it really made a difference. And they did take proper actions after the fact of me meeting with him.
Wow.
So fast forward to me getting out now. So he currently works at the Pentagon. Actually, I ran into him at the Pentagon the very first time. My sister convinced me to come volunteer at TAPS. So after getting out of the military, I struggled a lot. I went back to doing drugs. I was smoking weed every day just to,
wow.
It was like the only thing that could get everything off my mind. And, I was in a relationship at the time. I destroyed that relationship, because a lot of these personal problems that I was having.
Yeah.
And, I was just going through it was a really dark time for me. And I didn't know what PTSD was until I got out.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second, this is all hitting me now. I kind of felt very alone and everything. And my sister kept on trying to convince me, come up here and, be a mentor at this Good Grief camp for children. And I was like, that is not where I need to be right now.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can say to a child that's going to be good advice at this point in my life. Like, I can't be around kids.
Wow.
And she said, listen, if I fly you up to DC, will you please just try it? And I finally agreed, so she stopped nagging me. Again, this is my sister, that we really bonded with over this. So I went up there.
Stop nagging me.
I went up there, and
Wow.
I was a mentor at the Good Grief camp. So it was children that lost a family member in the military. So the child that I mentored that year, his father was actually in the 82nd Airborne Division as well. He was a helicopter pilot. His father was diagnosed with leukemia and died 3 days later.
Oh,
My mom
jeez.
currently has leukemia. I actually found out my mom had leukemia right before my deployment to Afghanistan.
Oh my God.
So she started doing her first rounds of chemotherapy while I was in Afghanistan, so that was kind of difficult for me, dealing with that over there while all this other stuff's going on. So I went up there, and I mentored him that weekend. And at the very end of the weekend, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on one of those days, I actually went to the Pentagon and I ran into General Anderson, so that was really cool, and he introduced me to some of his friends. But on Sunday, what we do,
Wow.
or what they do there, they have a tradition. They have these picture frames. So we always take a group photo, and then they have these picture frames where you can record a message. And my mentee, his name is Ian. He was 11 years old at the time. He recorded a message for me, and you listen to it, after you leave on Sunday. And so after we said our goodbyes and hugged and everything, we left, and I went and sat in the hotel lobby, down there in Washington, D.C., and I listened to the message he left me on this picture frame. And I broke down and cried. It was the first time I had cried since I deployed, since before my deployment.
Wow.
So probably 4 or 5 years since I cried, and I just broke down and bawled. And so I've been doing that for 4 years now. I have to go back every year now. It was the most incredible experience, and I thought I couldn't be around kids, but for me, that's exactly what I needed. I think was to go see that and to see, these kids have lost their family member, their father, their mother, their brother, their sister, and they're still happy. They're still doing incredible things. They're still living a happy and a full life. Even with all this terrible grief, these tragedies that have happened to them. So that really inspired me. I said, if they can do it, I can do it too. And being able to share those stories and talk to somebody that has experienced something, a little bit close to what you've experienced.
Yeah.
That was really powerful. And, the power of kids, man, they moved me and they brought me to tears, so.
Wow, dude. You almost brought me to tears right there. So, whew, wow. So wow. I'm blown away, dude. I knew some of this stuff. I didn't know all of it though.
So since you shared the picture, with the chairman.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So, my friend Donovan, that completed suicide at work, he's buried in Arlington up there, so I go visit him every year up there. And so I was at Arlington on Memorial Day, the first time I was up there. The president does his, Memorial Day address. And so I was there at the amphitheater at Arlington Cemetery. The president had just gotten done with his speech and everything. I was in uniform. And I was with my sister, and my sister had a button with my brother-in-law on it, on her blouse, and we were taking pictures with people, in our uniform and everything. And then this guy with a couple stars on his shoulder walks up, and I was talking to him, and then my sister walks up, and I introduced him to my sister, and he asked about the button, and we kind of told him a story about my brother-in-law Nathan, and he sat there in the most sincere conversation, I've ever had. And he asked for that button. He said, "Can I have that?" And I was kind of confused. And he said, I want to leave this on my desk so that I can remember the sacrifices, that our, service members make. And, this is a really powerful story. And, of course my sister, gave it to him. And,
wow.
Before we even left Arlington Cemetery, he actually emailed us and said, "It was such a pleasure meeting you again. I would like to invite you to my house for dinner. I love your story. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. You can come over for dinner if you'd like. Me and my wife would love that." So that's how I met at the time he was the commandant of the Marine Corps. And about a year later, he got promoted to the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, which is the military advisor to the president. So,
who is this?
his name is General Dunford.
General Dunford. And is he
actually? I called him from the Oval Office once, actually on speed.
Hold it. You called him from the Oval Office?
So interestingly, he invited us to his house. So since he got promoted to the chairman, we went to the new commandant of the Marine Corps. The following year, we went to the new commandant of the Marine Corps' house. He had a little backyard party going on, we'll call it. And I was out of the military at this point, so I'm just in civilian clothing, and I was sitting there, and I just started a conversation with some old guy. And this, he wasn't that old, but I hope he's not watching this. But he looked at me. He said, "Have you ever been to the White House before?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Would you like to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be really cool." And he was like, "All right, like here's my email." He's like, "Let me know this weekend whenever you're available." It was like on a Friday night. And on Monday, he gave us a tour of the White House. But
who is this?
He looked really kind of familiar. So I had to Google his name. I knew his name was Dennis. I knew his first name was Dennis. That's all I knew. And so I typed in Dennis on Google whenever he walked away. Yeah, the first picture that popped up was him sitting next to Obama during the raid on Osama bin Laden. So he's actually the chief of staff of the White House for the Obama administration.
No shit.
So he gave us a really cool private tour of the White House.
What's his name? Dennis what?
Dennis McDonough.
Wow.
So I met him at the commandant's house, and then when I was in the Oval Office, of course the president was around. I was in the Oval Office, and I recognized a few different names on the president's phone there on the desk, and so I had to pick it up and call Joe.
Oh, did you? His name was on the phone, and you just picked up. You picked up the president's phone and made a phone call?
It might have been. He didn't answer in my defense, but.
Well, dude, did you have permission? Oh my God!
You know, the first thing I asked him whenever I got there, I said, "Dennis, what can I steal?" He said, "Just ask me before you do."
Oh my God! So you got a book of matches or something with the White House on it, or?
I got some M&Ms, some presidential M&Ms.
Wow. Dude, you made a phone call from the Oval Office.
I stole a bunch of apples from the Oval Office. I'll say that. like the real fruit. He had a bowl of apples on his desk in the Oval Office.
Oh my God. That is hilarious, dude. So, wow, man. Wow. So I know you're still friends with General Dunford. And is he still is he the current chairman of the Joint Chiefs? And that's as high as you go in the military unless you're the president, right?
That is the highest in the military, yes. Yeah, wow. He's a 4-star general and
holy crap. Wow. That's incredible, man. So you do this thing with the kids, TAPS it's called?
Yeah, TAPS.
You do this every year? You go up to Washington, D.C.?
Yep. So for Memorial Day weekend every year, it's their national seminar. So okay. I volunteer that weekend and I act as a mentor. And I feel guilty at this point because I've been with the same kid. Unfortunately, I had to miss it this year. I'm actually going to visit him here next month probably. He lives in South Dakota, but so I've been doing it with him for 3 years. He's going on our 4th year now. Wow. So I gotta get it easy because now I just kind of get to grow up with him. So he actually just turned 15 2 weeks ago actually.
Wow.
So now he's driving. And I'm like, you're like a little kid. So I have it easy. Everybody else has to meet somebody new every year, and form that whole relationship again. We just kind of get to pick up where we left off. So. Dude,
that's awesome. Do you stay in touch with him?
Oh yeah, absolutely, throughout the year.
So that's just that's one of the things about you, man. You just have an amazing heart and soul, man. And as I've gotten to know you, the level of gratitude that you express in so many things is amazing. So when I met you, you were just getting started or thinking about getting started in a business. Let's talk a little bit about that. I can't believe we've already been doing this for 46 minutes, man. That's incredible. So I feel like we just started. Like your story keeps me so just drawn in. It's unbelievable. So you were thinking about starting a business, or you were starting a business or something. Talk about that, man. What's going on with your? I mean, do you have a job? You work at McDonald's or? Just kidding.
I bounced around a few jobs, after leaving active duty, and nothing was really sticking for me.
Right.
I did the corporate thing. I worked in an office as an HR assistant for a little while, and I wanted to jump out the window. I hated it. Actually, my first job was I was doing pressure washing off of high rises. So I was rappelling down the side of high rises on the beach, and
What? Are you serious?
yeah. Surprisingly, that was actually probably more scary than jumping out of an airplane. Like hanging backwards by a rope off of 30 stories up on the beach in the wind is a little bit nerve wracking. But
A little bit. Dude, Jiminy Christmas. Wow.
But none of it really lasted, and I just knew I didn't have fulfillment since I left the military. I felt very fulfilled in the military. I had accomplished, received a lot of awards and accolades, and I felt like I had really been a part of history, and I built schools for kids and protected them and built these checkpoints, and I did all these things that I felt was fulfilling, to me at the time. And when I got out, editing somebody's resume isn't fulfilling to me. And doing, paperwork wasn't fulfilling. So, I knew I needed something different. And actually, so I started bartending. I think that's what I did the longest. I started bartending on the beach, and I loved it just because I was able to converse with so many people that are on vacation. They're happy. A lot of successful people. I worked at a bartending at a pretty nice bar. So there's very successful people there that I got to converse with daily. I kind of asked them, how'd you get into what you're doing? What do you do? And all that. And, I was sitting there just taking notes, behind the bar.
Wow.
I said, okay, what about this? What about this? And I'd ask him questions. And then finally, one day, a regular that had come in, he actually lives in Ohio, surprisingly enough. He was a guy from Ohio. He would come down once or twice a month. He owned several large companies, and he finally, I kept on asking him about him, and finally one day he said, Alex, he said, stop asking about me. Tell me about you. And he said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I've been thinking about this idea lately. I go to school for, he's like, I don't care about school. He's like, what do you really want to do? And I kind of told him like my idea at the time. And, he's like, why haven't you done it yet? Why haven't you started it yet? And I was like, I didn't have an answer. I didn't have an excuse. I didn't have any excuse to give him.
Right.
So he kind of inspired me and motivated me, and I kind of just took a leap of faith and jumped and started my first business, which was actually involved in the background section at the air sector at the time. I thought I did everything right, but I kind of ran into a big roadblock with the security aspect of it. I definitely couldn't afford the security that was necessary to really start that business. But it was a good experience, like just starting something. And then actually I got called by the National Guard, and then they requested. This was about 3 weeks after I just quit my job, like bartending. I just quit one day, and I said, I got to go do this. I got to go all in.
Wow.
So I went all in, and then I kind of ran into that roadblock, and then the National Guard called me and said, hey, we're going to Africa. Like, we need experienced NCOs. Would you consider coming with us? And I said, let me think about it. When are you guys leaving? And they were like, 2 weeks. And I was like, let's go. So I ended up in Africa, and that kind of gave me the time to, kind of write out a business. I want to say write out. I never wrote out a business plan, but to really think about, the business I want to start. And, I've read a lot of books over there, and, I had internet in Africa, so, I could do a lot of research and study over there. And so when I came back from that, since coming back from that deployment to Africa, I've been an entrepreneur full time since then. So.
And what year was that?
I came back in 2015.
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what? So the first business flopped. What happened next? Where'd you go after you got back from Africa? What'd you start doing?
So I thought I still wasn't sure exact. I still wanted to actually so Dynamic Backgrounds was my first business. I still really wanted to do that, but I knew it was going to take more money than I had anticipated. So I said, how can I come up with this money? While being an entrepreneur. So I said, everybody around here sells snow cones. I live on the beach, close to the beach. Everyone around here sells snow cones. I said, let me do something different. Let me sell Italian ice.
Sell what?
So I started selling Italian ice.
Okay.
So I started selling Italian ice, figured it'd be a good way to get some experience in business, but also, save up some money so that I could really invest in the Dynamic Backgrounds, that first company. So that was kind of how I got my start. And then I was actually with TAPS again, down in Key West on a young adults, a survivors retreat down there. And I saw a gentleman selling snow cones and selling what were coconuts. I didn't know what they were at the time, but they were coconuts. And he didn't sell a single snow cone, but he sold quite a bit of coconuts. And and I haven't shared this with too many people, but to be honest, what really got my attention about the coconuts, we were waiting to take a picture at the southernmost point monument right there on the corner down there in Key West.
Yeah.
And I was definitely intrigued because they were popular, so I was sitting there counting them. But at that time, I was still having a lot of problems and a lot of difficulty with, the whole finding happiness and all that. And I was still lost my ways. And I was so intrigued by how happy everybody was when they got one. I've never seen anybody react to any kind of food or candy or anything else in the manner that they did whenever they got this giant green crazy thing with a straw in it. And that just blew my mind. And I said, I want to make people as happy as those coconuts make people. And so I came home and started doing some research. 2 weeks later, I was at Growth Conference.
Wow.
So that's when it all started. I drove down to Miami a day early. It's about a 10-hour, 11-hour drive for me.
Yeah.
Miami, went down a day early, drove around, and found some farmers down there and, brought a couple dozen or two coconuts back from Key West. And that's how I got my start in the coconut business.
Dude. And I don't think, at that point, well, you hadn't sold the first coconut. You hadn't done anything yet.
I sold my first coconut the day after I met you, Ken.
Really? Are you serious?
I'm 100% serious.
Oh my God. I don't remember our exact conversation, but I do remember, the first time we met, and I was sitting with a group of people, and you again, you just looked you looked lost, man. Like you just didn't. You had a look.
I was very much lost at that point in my life.
Yeah, you just looked.
I mean, I'm still lost, but not as lost.
Yeah, no, I think you found your way, man. You're on the path, and so I just remember encouraging you, man, and thanking you for your service over and over, and I thank you as often as I possibly can because my best friend and I were going to go in the Army on the buddy system, and he went in, and I said, I'm out. No way, I'm not doing it, dude. Good luck. So I was a jerk. But I always wonder what my life would have been like had I done that. And I'm always very, very grateful for anyone who served, and dude, you went through some serious stuff. So so we got you convinced to go all in on the coconuts, and so tell us how that's been going for you since that was 2 years, a year and a half ago?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Yeah. So how's it been going since then?
So in my first 6 weeks, like I said, I sold my first one the day after I met you. And the first 6 weeks, I sold 71 coconuts. At the time, I was partnered with a local food truck that was quite popular, and they actually had 2 locations. They did paddle boards and scooters, the mopeds and all that kind of fun stuff, bicycles. So I partnered with them. They kind of came to me and asked me to partner with them. So I did. We didn't have anything in writing. Big mistake in business.
Yeah.
It was a great learning lesson though.
Yeah. And
actually one day, I'm not a big drinker. I drank a lot in the military, and I had my little stint there where some alcohol got the better of me. So I don't drink as much anymore. And I was actually sponsoring a charity event at a local. It was a bar, but a local restaurant and bar. And he came down there. The owner of this food truck I was partnered with came down there, and he was trying to convince me to drink, and I was, I'm not interested in drinking, no thanks. He threw his trash on the ground at the beach, and I said, hey, that's not really cool. And he said, oh, they pay people to pick that up. And that right there, it just showed me his true character. And I said, I can't be in business with somebody that thinks they can treat anybody that way.
Right.
That doesn't work in business.
No.
It doesn't.
Nope.
So I just trusted my gut, and I just jumped. I said, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I actually lost probably about $6,000-$7,000. So at that point, I didn't have that money to lose.
Right.
All the money that I had done thousands of dollars in sales had all gone through his bank account. Still to this day, I haven't seen a dime from it, but it was the best thing that could have happened to me was him doing that. So, I decided I could either sit there and feel sorry for myself, or I can go do something. So, I actually went down to a popular destination called Harbor Walk Village in Destin. And I walked in, I had a little cooler, like a little lunchbox with me with a coconut in it and some ice. And I walked in and I said, and no plan, didn't think it out, didn't call, nothing, just showed up and said, hey, can I talk to somebody? I'd like to inquire about being a vendor here. And they said, yeah, here you go. Here's the general manager. And they walked me into his office. And he came to his door and shook my hand. I said, hi, I'd like to, inquire about being a vendor here. And he said, what do you sell? And I said, coconuts. And he said, absolutely not. Didn't even hesitate and turned his back on me to walk to his desk.
Wow.
As he did it, I don't know what possessed me to do this at the time. After doing Cardone University, I know exactly what it was.
Right.
Presentation. I'll do that plug right there because I super freaked this presentation, and I didn't take no for an answer. It was an objection, right? So I said, while he had his back turned to me walking to his chair, I opened one up, and he caught me. He turned around right as I was opening it, and the water kind of shot all over his desk.
Oh, jeez.
But I said, before you say no again, try this. And I handed him this giant green ice cold coconut, and he looked at me like crazy. He took a sip. He looked at me again. He said, sit down, let's talk.
Wow, dude. Nice.
He said, how many coconuts do you think you could sell here? And I said, conservatively 1,000, but I'll sell 2,000 a month. He said, you think you can sell 1,000 coconuts a month? I said, absolutely. And again, at this point, I'd only sold 71 coconuts in a 6-week period. I overpromised, but it made me over-deliver.
Right.
So I actually kind of maybe burnt myself on that one because he said, "Okay, good, we'll base your rent off that." So.
Oh God.
They based my rent off that, and
wow.
Natural break even and everything off that. But the first month, so we started Memorial Day weekend last year, and our first month, in the month of June, we sold over 1,200 coconuts. We went on to sell just shy of 8,000 in the first 3 months out there.
Dude.
So it was a good start. And then, again, super freaking some more stuff. I had the opportunity to meet with some management at Lulu's, which is Lucy Buffett, Jimmy Buffett's sister. It's her restaurant. Yeah. And on my way there, I was a little bit early to the meeting. I had met some friends. It was a band of kids, and they had known the management, and they said, "Hey, we're performing. We'd love you to come eat lunch with us." Because I had given them coconuts and Italian ice like a couple of days prior to that at this event. I was like, "You guys are incredible! Like here, like I sell this. It's free." They invited me there, and I stopped by one of those beach stores and had them airbrushed Lulu's logo onto the coconut and brought it to them, and landed that deal.
Wow.
So that was kind of a good start for us too. And then, it was actually kind of a very cold and lonely winter. It's kind of hard to sell coconuts when it's cold out. So I really struggled, and I had a lot of failed events and tons of failure, throughout the winter. But this year, things have definitely picked up. One of the biggest things I learned last year was I can't do this on my own, which I was trying to do it all on my own, which you can't do that. You got to work on your business, not in it. And
right.
That's really what I was doing. So I started partnering. I started networking with people. I started building relationships. And I started facing my fears. So so I started breaking through some walls. One of my biggest fears, I think what a lot of people can relate to this, is public speaking. I was terrified of public speaking.
Yep.
Can't do it. I mean, I sweat very immensely. I'm shaking. I'm nervous. My voice gets higher. I've been self-conscious about my voice since I was younger, so my voice gets higher. I'm just like, it's terrible. It's a terrible experience for me. But I said, if I'm going to, if I want to be successful, and if I want to inspire other people to follow their dream, which is my ultimate goal, is, you know, and that's what I love about coconuts is not only how happy they make people, but it's a really good platform, I think, to spread positivity.
Yeah.
You know, and so we like to promote what we call the vacation state of mind. You know, kind of that happy feeling, you know, wherever you're at, you know, whether you're in Ohio or, you know, down here in Florida on the beach sipping, you know, a nice, cool coconut. So it's really, you know, I really want to try to promote that, and I really want to share my message, my story with people, you know, to show, hey, look, you know, if I can be successful selling coconuts, you can be successful doing anything. So I said, if I'm going to share that message with people, I got to learn how to talk in front of them, you know, of course.
Yeah.
So the first, I entered an elevator pitch competition. It was an online video submission, so that part was a little bit easier. And I became a finalist. And then this is at the University of West Florida for their College of Business. And I went to the competition. You know, sadly, I was actually like 2 hours late. It was a 3-hour event. I was like 2 hours late.
Oh, God.
So no time to prepare. I stopped and I bought note cards on the way there at Walmart. And, like, I'm in the parking lot like 2 hours after the event started, like trying to like write down some notes. And I was like, I didn't have time. So I just went up there and I just spoke from the heart and just kind of, you know, I want to say I winged it, you know. I mean, I just shared them my real message with them, and
right.
I won first place and won $1,500. You know, so I said, hey, maybe I should do this again, you know. So that was actually the next time I presented. One of the judges for that, I was also on the organizing board for a program called 1 Million Cups by the Kauffman Foundation.
What's it called again?
Called 1 Million Cups.
Oh, okay.
It's an entrepreneurial kind of network they have that Kauffman Foundation kind of tries to put together. So they get entrepreneurs and business owners in the community to present their idea to, you know, a room full of people, and there's lots of investors in that room.
Yeah.
You know, lots of local business owners, influential people. I think the mayor was here whenever I did mine. So she said, hey, we're starting this in Pensacola. Will you be our first speaker? I thought you were great up there for your pitch. And I said, absolutely. I'm thinking in my head like, no, but you know, I did it. And it opened a lot of doors for me. It opened a lot of doors.
Right.
That's actually where I'm at right now. I'm at the Co-work Annex down here in Pensacola.
Wow.
Karen, the owner here, she is an incredible woman, and she actually donated this space for me today. I told her I was going on breakthrough walls to talk about life and how to overcome these obstacles. And
yeah.
She said, you got to do it here, Alex. So
wow,
that's why I'm here today.
That's awesome. Let's talk about, and we're a little bit over in time, but that's okay. It's all good. But I like to keep it around an hour. But let's quickly talk about something happened recently with another government official. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So leading up to that, I did a veteran entrepreneurs program for veterans, and I did a pitch competition there. I won second place at this one. So first and second place get to go to the state finalists down in Tampa. But there's somebody at that pitch competition that he's actually the executive director for a program called Veterans Florida. And I'd never met him before. Ironically, he came from the same National Guard unit that I was deployed with.
Was he also in the 82nd or no?
No,
okay.
He was a National Guard soldier here. So after I did my presentation, I was kind of skeptical. I didn't know if the judges really connected with me on that one. So I go outside. I'm giving out free coconuts, and even I usually give out free coconuts afterwards, of course. So I'm out there and I'm opening up these coconuts for everybody, and he comes up to me and he's just having a conversation with me, and I kind of got real deep with him and kind of told him, my goals of inspiring other veterans and other entrepreneurial minded, individuals as well, but just to inspire people and to really share that message and how that helped me, overcome PTSD, PTSD symptoms, I'll say. And it helped me a lot in my life.
Right.
So I was like, I want to be able to do that for others. And I was just talking to him a lot. And he said, would you be willing to come to Tallahassee? He said, I'd really like you to speak with my team. Like you're really inspiring, like that message you just shared with me. And, absolutely, I'll talk to anybody that's willing to listen to me. And he said, okay. He said, let me put something together and I'll let you know. I'll email you. And I said, okay, here you go. And that was on like Saturday. On Monday, he emailed me back and he said, hey, I just want to let you know, I really appreciate your story. I love everything you talked about. I forwarded your information to the governor, and he approved you to receive the Governor's Young Entrepreneur Award. I was like, wait a second. I thought it was a joke at first, but
Oh my God, dude!
Yeah,
Wow.
so last week, I went up to Tallahassee and we snuck a cooler full of coconuts into the Capitol building. We met with the governor for his cabinet meeting that he has where they go over everything. So his entire cabinet was there, and he honored me at that ceremony there by giving me the governor's young entrepreneur award. So I got a nice little fancy gold medal.
Wow.
And of course, we had these staged and close by. So before we started taking pictures, some of the associates I was there with started bringing some coconuts up, and they were fascinated by it and wanted to open their own. I made them all some custom little coconut holders with some nicknames on it.
Nice, dude. Wow.
So
holy crap.
It's really everything that all the success I'll say that I've experienced in business thus far. I'm not saying I'm successful, but the successes I have experienced have all been from relationships, building relationships with people.
Yep.
Building a relationship with you, building a relationship with, anybody that I can, because everybody has something different to offer. Everybody has value to offer. I was down in Tampa, won second place. $7,500 check, no big deal. Met some really awesome celebrity judges down there. Interesting enough, actually, I want to share this really quickly just because I think this is an obstacle that was really significant for me. Like I said, it was a really dark and cold winter.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was cold. Like I had my power shut off for a point in time that winter.
Wow.
This is last winter. I put everything back into business, but I applied for funding on a platform called StreetShares, which is for veterans. One of the judges for the pitch competition I did in Tampa was the business development for StreetShares. His name was Sanjay. And after I won and everything, we're at the reception, and we were about to take a picture. Somebody wanted us to take a picture together, and I told him, I said, I applied for funding on StreetShares in November, and I was denied. And of course that's not his fault by any means, but
right.
I just didn't have the right. I wasn't qualified. And he looks at me and he said, go apply again. And on Monday, the CEO of StreetShares sent me a friend request on LinkedIn. So
wow.
Following my sister, I just wanted to share that really quickly.
Well, and that's the thing, man. I know that when I talked to you the very first time, you were like, man, and it was, I think, the last day of the growth conference, the night before.
It was the last day.
Yeah. And you're like, I've learned so much. I just need to figure out how to put it all together and make it happen. And I said, dude, just go do it. Well, you just got to hit the freaking ground and go. And
that's the best advice.
And which it was, we talked a lot more than that, but dude, like, and I know you had us write a letter of recommendation. And for you to get into a business college, and I remember when you showed me, we were talking, you showed me the two letters that you had, one from me and one from the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I was like, dude, that's it? That's it? Two letters, one from me and the military advisor to the president. Okay, that's pretty cool, man. So, and I believe you got in,
one
right?
One in military, one in business.
It's awesome, dude. I'm so honored and honored to know you, honored to call you a friend, honored to it just blows my mind to see what you're doing. And as you already know, anything that I could ever do to help you, I would. And Alex, dude, like, from the bottom of my heart, like, I'm so grateful that you were on the show today. I'm unbelievably
Thank you for having
grateful.
me. It felt so good to get stuff like that off the chest because I don't get to talk about all that, very often, and it really helps. And I really hope that people watching can maybe connect with me or maybe connect with somebody that had similar experiences to me, or if they had them themselves, and maybe that can start that dialogue, that conversation, and help anybody.
Anybody. I mean, it's. What's the number? 22 military veterans commit suicide every day, and
I mean, that's what's reported, but
Right,
they
it's
say
more
it could
than
be a
that.
lot higher.
It's a lot higher because the ones that die in traffic related alcohol or drug those don't go down as suicides.
And there's a lot of states that actually don't even report veteran suicide either. So
That I mean, dude, and what you're doing, I really want everybody watching this to understand something. Um, Alex Alex Hill turned his life around because he stopped focusing on his own bullshit and started focusing on helping other people. And when you focus
100%.
when you focus on helping other people, when you focus on literally saving lives, when you focus on that, and then you also pour your heart into your business or whatever your I mean, that's when life changes. And dude, you have completely turned your life around. I'm sure you still have the bad dreams. I'm sure you still have moments when you don't know how to deal with emotions. I'm sure that you still have challenges. But when you focus on helping other people, man, that's where true happiness comes from.
I mean, that's the best drug. I went to the VA and, nothing there worked, but the only drug that's worked for me is giving to other people, providing value for others. That every time, the worst mood, and no matter what's going on, if I, do something for others, it always makes me feel a lot better. So, one of our core values in the Army is selfless service. And, I believe I practiced that when I was in the service. Whenever I left, after post-service, I kind of ignored that. And whenever I got back to being selfless again, that's when everything started to change for me.
Dude, my wife says in the comments, you can go back through and read all of the comments, dude. But she says, "Thank you, Alex. You are an inspiration."
Thank you, and happy belated birthday, Jill. Correct?
Yep. Her
Jill.
birthday. She turned 29 on Tuesday. I robbed the cradle. But hey, man, dude, I love you like a little brother. I think you're a phenomenal. I mean, you're just a phenomenal example of what is possible, man. No matter what, man. I mean, you've seen it all. There's not a whole lot more that people can experience in life that on a negative level. And you've taken that pain and you've turned it into
power, as Hank Norman would say.
As what?
I said power, as Hank Norman would say.
That's right.
Pain into power.
So, dude, thank you so much. I genuinely appreciate you coming on, sharing your story.
Honored
Everybody,
to be here. Thank you again for having me,
dude. The honor's mine, and listen, everybody watching this, make sure you go follow Alex Hill on Facebook and anywhere else. Snapchat,
Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat.
What's your Snapchat handle?
It is ACH850. Alpha
ACH.
Charlie Hotel 850.
All right. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate you coming on the show. I appreciate you sharing your story. Everybody, make sure you reach out to Alex. Follow him. Send him a friend request. Follow him in everything he's doing, because this dude is literally changing the coconut industry in the state of Florida, and it's probably going to have a ripple. It's going to ripple across the country for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So
we just signed a deal with Margaritaville a couple weeks ago, so
dude, that's awesome.
We'll be at Margaritaville near you.
That's awesome. I'm proud of you, man. All right, well, listen, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody who's been on this stream, who shared it out, the likes and the loves and the hearts, and we even got an angry face. Who put the angry face? What the heck? Anyway, hey man, gotta have a hater. So I appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. And you guys all have an awesome day. And we will see you all on Monday. Thank you so much for following the show. Make sure you follow Alex Hill. Go hit him up. He's a good kid. Appreciate you, brother. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.